Welcome to Africa's first ROG arena. Woo!
Hi there, folks, and welcome to round 5 of the ATK Pro Series powered by Mercedes-Benz, of course. My name is Ernest Page, joined by the man himself, Dan the Man, Daniel Haynes. Daniel Haynes, welcome back to the ATK Pro Series, this time with the Assetto Corsa.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone. It's the penultimate round. It's gone quick, hasn't it? And now we're getting to the sort of real sharp end of the season, and that drop round really starts to get into people's minds. But it's Suzuka, and it's going to be a nighttime race, so... Suzuka, I've seen such classic races around here. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, yes, Suzuka, the legendary track in Japan. But the drivers have been thrown a couple of curveballs this week, Dan. They've got wet weather to contend with, and they've potentially got some nighttime driving as well to contend with. And judging from the Discord chats, I think there are some frantic setups being thrown together as we speak.
Yeah, so the method that we've got this season is we actually do it at the exact live conditions, or we try our best, the live conditions that are there now, so including the time. So the race is going to start at midnight, basically, because that is the time in Suzuka right now. I know we're in South Africa, so we definitely get a nighttime race, but the forecast has been some very dodgy weather in Suzuka all week. Thunderstorms, and we were talking monsoon at one point, and now I think it's quite a lot better than what it could have been. So I think the drivers have had to contend with a whole host of different setup changes throughout the week, just in case that monsoon condition did pan out. But it looks like it's going to be relatively dry, possibly a shower thrown in there, though, very changeable. And that always makes it good for us as spectators.
Exactly. The drivers have frantically, as I've mentioned, gone through their setups, but thankfully not as much rain as expected. But doesn't matter if it rains or shines. Zahir Issa at the top spot there with 400 points. And although 12 points doesn't seem like a lot, Harry Spears does think that that gap is gigantic, but he does believe that that gap is also within striking distance. Philip Mana, the new name on the scene lately, has carved a name for himself by posting 340 points so far and fantastic results this season. And Tariq Adam in 4th position over there. This now, what you see on your screen, folks, is with the dropped rounds. Of course, drivers can drop one round this season. Isn't that right, Dan?
That's it, and that's really going to be in their minds as we go into the last 2 rounds here at Suzuka, and especially the final round at Bathurst. So I do believe Zahir Issa, for example, I think he's away on holiday, and I believe he's borrowing someone's rig or something. But the reason is he wants to get a banker in now, because you don't want to leave it for Bathurst. We've been saying all season long that one could be a tricky one and put you in trouble. So Zahir Issa is on track, and they're qualifying right now, but yeah, still with 2 rounds to go, a couple of wins, Harry Spears could easily take this still.
Yeah, and that's how championships are lost, isn't it, Dad? By making one judgment call as we transition into the qualifying session. And one incorrect judgment call can cause you a problem. Zahir Issa finds himself currently in 4th position, down in 4th, and that is a long way down for him, Dan. Usually we see him at the sharp end of the driving standings, but this time he's in 4th position, 14th second down. 3rd place is Adam Sovalainen in 2nd. 1st is Spears, but I think Tariq Adam will be quite happy to be ahead of Zahir Issa at this stage, but still early days.
Yeah, he will indeed. And just a reminder, obviously there's an extra incentive. This is an international series, but the South Africans are fighting their own little competition, if you like, to try and get into that top 3 and into the final at the end of the season. So Tariq Adam's doing exactly what he needs. I think Zahir Issa, though, 4th is better than 0 as far as a drop round. You want some points to... I mean, you want points in the bank just in case they're required, and I think that's his goal today in Zahir Issa, but he's still doing great in that 4th place, especially if he's not on his current machinery. Morgan Mccaul in 5th position as well. He's one of the drivers that are trying to fight his way into that top 3, isn't he?
Yeah, Morgan Mccaul has not had the results that he's wanted. He's shown some splashes of brilliance over the course of the season, but not his normal pace that we've come to know. And are those wipers on the car there, Dan? I'm trying to get a look to see. It looks like it is, in fact, raining at the moment, and it will be raining. I think these guys are going for a change of tires as we speak, Dan.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to cope with a little bit of changeable conditions. Can't see a forecast, so I'm not sure where this will go. Obviously, in qualifying, that's not ideal. We've seen track progression in qualifying throughout this series all year. If the rain's coming down now, though, Harry Spears is looking pretty in provisional pole, isn't he?
Oh, that is such a master stroke, though, when you get it right, just like that as Simon Bauer climbs over that final chicane. When you get it just right like that, you time it perfectly, you've got... You know it's dry, the rain's about to come, you go out immediately and do your best possible lap. I mean, that is just perfect strategy from Harry Spears now, and that's exactly what he needs to do as he is on the chase for our man Zahir Issa at the moment. Maybe these guys aren't going to be going any faster, but as we said early days, 12.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, we got Serverlinen's put himself in second. He had a fantastic race, didn't he, last time out, and just led from the front and ran away with it, really. So Harry Spears is one trying to avoid that, trying to keep him behind him. I think it is very handy to start on pole here, up that inside into the first corner, because, yeah, it's a tricky first sector, and nothing better than having clear track ahead of you.
Exactly, that first sector, I mean, let's, if we can go on board with someone, then we can quickly have a look and see what the circuit is like, Dan, and then talk the audience through. Of course, for those watching and joining on the YouTube stream, thanks for joining us. This is the Mercedes-Benz ATK Pro Series as Zahir Issa parks it into a stationary car over there. Yes, it looks like the guys are starting to slip and slide their way around the circuit here. Treacherous conditions, very tricky conditions at this stage, and more rain forecast for the next 30 minutes as the drivers make their way through. But yeah, Dan, as you were saying, that first sector, one of my favorite sectors on any circuit, that you link up the first couple of corners. It's such a technical section, such a sacrifice section. You got to have ultimate patience there, because you try and get a faster section on the first part and then you lose out on the exit of that section. Here we go on board now with Jacobs as we try and make our way around the circuit and figure out exactly what the circuit is like. And there you go. This is the section I'm talking about here. Left, right, over and over and over until eventually you get to the final section. And each one of these has to be carefully measured and carefully planned until you go to the final left-hander now. Long left-hander. Oh, and there you can see Jacobs himself having some trouble in the 87 car.
Yeah, that first sector is what makes Suzuka such a classic. I mean, people have actually copied whole sections at COTA in America. They've lifted those S-curves and they've just dropped it in there. And Bowers, it almost took someone with him, but it's definitely slip and slide through there, isn't it? We saw a bit of that in Nürburgring, but it's you can with the wipers going. But it is a classic track. That first sector is easy when you're hot lapping, but in the race, when your line's slightly compromised, maybe you're trying to make a pass or you got someone slow, it can throw you off if you get your line out there. And then you got Degner 1 and 2. So many mistakes happen through there. Seems so easy, but there's no runoff, and the curbs can be tricky. So Degner 1.
So tricky. And number 2 is the one for me, a corner I still haven't quite figured out just yet. You can get it pinned through there. You can gain so much speed through there, but if you get it wrong, it's going to be a problem. Track condition greasy. Now we saw Morgan Mccaul up slightly on his sector. Let's see if he's still up. Most of the guys, Mccaul, yes, still slightly up on his sector at this stage, but most of the guys, not the case at all. So Morgan Mccaul could see himself go up from 6th position all the way up to 4th potentially if he manages to hold it together. But as with greasy track conditions, it's always difficult to keep that good lap going. Here he goes now through one of the most iconic corners in all of motorsport, Dan.
Yeah, 130R, absolute classic, isn't it? It's bravery right there, how much you can push and how little you can lift and not go off. There is runoff there, but if you use it, you're in trouble and you've lost a place. So it's one of those corners. It is so fast, so fast, and then you eventually come up to the braking zone of the Casio chicane, which you can easily get wrong as well. So it's such a technical circuit. I think it ranks in, they did a survey, and I think it was the top 4 all-time most favorite Grand Prix circuits is Suzuka, and we haven't even had a race there since 2019. So we're looking forward to getting back.
So Morgan Mccaul slips into 4th position, just behind Serverlinen, and Tariq Adam finds himself in 2nd place on the front row of the grid. So far, Tariq carved his way to the front row of the grid for this race, and he will be quite happy with that so far. And with these greasy conditions, it's not going to be what we've normally seen there. What we've normally seen is guys chopping at the bit the entire time and chopping down those times too, over and over and over. We will not be seeing that today. These guys are trying hard to just match the existing times and potentially pip those times.
Yeah, and they did have to deal with greasy and green conditions throughout the last round at Nürburgring, and drivers all said it was incredibly difficult. So they've had a bit of experience there, but if the rain gets any more, it's going to be a bit more than greasy, isn't it? There is a few drivers still out on track that are actually up on their delta. Foch in 7th position is 3/10 up right now, so it looks like these conditions have been pretty consistent for the 30 minutes at least. I didn't catch the very start of qualifying. So there is still potential to move up that spot.
Foch now, as you say, in 7th position. Spears there in 1st place. Foch now 0.2 of a second up, Dan, and if he gets that, he could see himself ahead of our man Zahir Essa over there. So let's see how Foch does. Zahir Essa, of course, of course, that's your here is Harry Spears, I apologize. Wipers ablaze. Wipers ablaze. We now go to Samir Foch. Samir last time was streaming, and what did he stream again? I might dip in to go have a look and see what he has to say.
Yeah, he's a 10th up still as we come up to 130R towards the end, so he's in the final sector, and if he can just hold it, how brave is he through there? It's still showing a 10th. Still showing a 10th. He's there. He's coming up now. 2/10 now as he's in the braking zone for the chicane. 3/10. He's having an awesome chicane, so if he can get a good exit, I think he might have lost a little bit, but potentially he's going to move up here, Foch.
Dan, I gotta say, that last section was very, very good. You can see the cars are absolutely on the ragged edge. From 7th position, he goes up into 6th place. Does Foch. So Foch will be happy with that 6th position now. 1 place up, parks it on the side of the circuit as we cut now to Silver Line.
It's a demonstration that there is still time to be had, isn't it? But he was 3/10 up on the entry to the chicane, and then he dropped to only a 10th on the exit. So went in a little bit too hot in that final chicane, and potentially lost out on maybe 1 or 2 places. But everyone else is, I mean, you've got to just be on circuit to give you a chance. But no, I can't see anyone else up on their delta right now. It's very tricky conditions, I think.
And just look at the top 3, Dan, separated by just 0.035 of a second.
Crazy.
So Linen behind Spears. And I keep hesitating on Spears' name because I read it, my brain says Spires.
Yeah.
I actually know someone with that exact surname, and that's how.
I mean, you're a massive Britney fan, so I'm not sure how you could get it wrong.
Look, I tell you what, as long as these guys don't shout "Hit me, baby" one more time going into the first corner, everything should be fine. Speaking of first corners, Dan, what are your thoughts on the first corner, and what do you think the advantages and disadvantages are going to be as they head into turn 1?
Well, there's a lot of lines through there. The only thing I'd say negative about Suzuka is their name. I mean, look, they've actually named turn 1 first turn. I mean, surely they could come up with something a little bit more imaginative than that.
Bro.
Is literally called the first turn. So it makes life easy for commentators. So when they go into the first turn, that is actually the name of it. But it's very wide. You can go sort of in 3 abreast because it's almost like a turn 2 is really the late apex of turn 1. And yeah, everyone will go piling into there, and there's a potential to make up a lot of places. There's also a potential to get unstuck, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, so far Zahir is a 0.4 of a second down, uncharacteristic from him. But as he said, not using his own rig for this one. Showing up, obviously, as a sponsored driver, you can't just not turn up. But he's on vacation at the moment, as far as we know, and finds himself in an uncharacteristic. Now 5th place, Morgan Mccaul ahead of him as well. And Mccaul looking so good out there today. Morgan Mccaul finding his pace, it seems. Finally.
Yeah, he's a fan of Suzuka, isn't he? I think Essa, just going back to Essa, hopefully he's got some sort of rig. He's not playing with a Wii remote or something. I'm assuming that he's borrowed something relatively decent. He's known in the sim world, so he can probably sneak onto someone else's rig and get going. He's still got plenty of pace. It's very, very tight, as we've seen all season. If you jump 1 or 2 tenths, you can gain a huge amount of places. But at the moment, it looks like conditions are probably worse, because this is the exact opposite of what we've seen all season. That not anyone up on their delta right now.
Yeah, the only person that I'm seeing up at the moment is Trollop in 23rd position. He's the last of our entries. And unfortunately, he finds himself at the back of the field right now, trying to gain some extra time there. He's 0.3 of a second or 0.2 of a second up, but even that won't be enough to get onto Wentworth. Wentworth himself, Leon Ledoux, I mean, these are big names here. Mccaul, Ghost, Goit, King, Deploy, Barkhuis, and Voss. These are big names here. They still find themselves in the bottom 10 of this ATK Pro Series.
Yeah, it's a star-studded grid in, as far as sim races go, isn't it? You've got to be right at the top of your game to get into the top half of this grid. There is, I mean, in these conditions, what I would say, and I think we've seen it from Wentworth a few rounds ago, where I think he started dead last and got into the top 10. So the one advantage is of the greasy track, maybe some slight changeable conditions, night race as well. There's opportunities for those guys at the back of the field to suddenly have a blinder.
Oh yeah, the general rule of thumb when it comes to wet weather racing is just keep it on the black stuff, and you can expect certain drivers to go off. There will be a percentage of cars that will fall off the track. That's just a given in any wet race. So, you know, it's going to be one of those things, especially in a field this big. But having said that, these guys are so good. I think in a full wet race, we'll see better driving. But in a slippery race like this, I do think we're going to see some mistakes. The track, however, does seem to be developing a dry line as I'm watching Trollop now, and he parks it on the side of the road, still in 23rd position.
What's nice with this track is it's got runoffs where it's needed to help with the racing, and then it's very unforgiving in other areas where if you make a mistake, it was really your own fault. I'm thinking like Degnall 1 and 2. So it rewards good driving, and I think that's why it's so satisfying when you really hook a good quick lap up round here, and why drivers love it around the world. I mean, everyone. I never get anyone saying a bad word about Suzuka.
Yeah, the legendary Ayrton Senna took a Honda NSX around the circuit many years ago. The in-car footage of that, absolutely stunning. And even he said that the circuit is just wonderful. Even in a road car, the circuit is fantastic, despite it being so big. But the way it tests car and driver, unlike many others, especially in one location, then you've got all these different types of corners in one location.
Yeah, you're bang on right, though, that it suits all types of motorsport, doesn't it? Everything around Suzuka is good, where that's not necessarily the case with some circuits, where it's like, oh, it's brilliant in a Formula 1 car, pretty disastrous in anything slower. Suzuka, yeah, it just rewards good driving, no matter what you're in, something slow, something quick. And this is probably the middle ground in the GT3 series, but we're looking forward to getting it back on the International Continental GT Challenge calendar next year, hopefully, because it's missed the last two with COVID. And it's not on this season. So, yeah, the endurance racing it's known for as well, and hopefully it'll be back on the calendar next year with Kyalami.
Yeah, Intercontinental GT Challenge, of course. Looking forward to hopefully being involved with that again next year. Dan, you and me at Kyalami, what do you think?
Yeah, hopefully. We're round 2 next year, so Kyalami's moved to round 2, which will be interesting, usually with a final round. So, round 2.
Dan, sorry to interrupt you. All the drivers are going into the pit, so they're done, Dan. And that leaves me and you to talk about these incredible results where we see our man not too far up the grid over there. That is Zaire Essa in 5th place, Morgan Mccaul in 4th, Savalainen in 3rd, Tariq Adam, though, for me, the standout performance so far in 2nd place. We expect Spears to be near the top or thereabouts, but Tariq Adam has systematically worked his way through this grid over the course of a season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has indeed. I think the conditions in this qualifying session were definitely more favourable at the start. We didn't really see anyone make a move at the end. Foch managed to just pinch a tenth to go up a place. But apart from that, it was more favourable to get a fast lap in at the start, and that track progression wasn't anything. But it doesn't mean a lot if we're going into a wet race anyway. You, like you said, you just got to keep it on the black stuff. And then if you don't hit someone else, if you have a clean race, you're going to probably end up with a good result.
Yeah, but will these guys keep it clean? Will they keep it on the black stuff? And will they end up with a good race? Well, that's why we're watching, isn't it, folks? And for those guys that have just joined us on the stream, welcome to the ATK Pro Series. My name is Ernest Page, joined by Dan the Man Haynes. If you guys are looking to engage, you can catch us on YouTube. I see Tian Elof in the stream over there, and he's supporting Philip. Go, Philip. And that's Philip Minard that he's talking about in 5th place. Philip Minard really has made quite a splash on the scene, hasn't he, Dan?
Yeah, he has his sort of debut season. He's going to start from 8th by the looks of it. So he's got a bit of work to be done here at Suzuka. Maybe would hope to be a little bit further up. He's fighting the likes of Morgan Mccaul and Tariq Adams to try and cement that top 3 South African drivers, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And Philip Bernard, I see he's now down in 8th place, 7/10 of a second down. Uncharacteristic from him, but still relatively inexperienced compared to some of the other guys in developing that experience. And you'll never have to deal with a situation like this again for the first time. Isn't that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's really growing into the sim world, is Philip Minnaar, and if he can get into that top 3, that's probably his ultimate goal for this season at least, and then he'll move the bar up next time round, I'm sure.
I bet these guys are glad that this is not a standing start, Dan, because if it was...
Yeah, 100% they are, definitely.
Because in these conditions, I'm looking at the start line now, and I know you guys are seeing our mugs on screen there, but I'm watching the start line at the moment, just going through, and we should be cutting to the start line shortly just to go through the list of names. But what these guys are standing on, they are standing in puddles of water in pitch black conditions, all of them nose to tail, all 23 or so of them. Yep, 23 drivers starting from the back. They trollop in the back. Wentworth also on the last row of the grid. And as you said, Dan, we've seen Wentworth do come from behind races before and do very, very well indeed.
Yeah, see if he can do it again. Get into the top 10 and you're quite literally in the money, aren't you? So that's got to be the goal for anyone in that sort of mid-pack to lower end, is just try and sneak yourself into the points. But the track, I mean, when it says greasy, it really is. The lights are reflecting off the surface and it looks very, very slippery and shiny.
I'm quite excited now to see what the first quarter is going to be.
I love it if I don't have to drive in it.
Oh, yeah,
if I'm driving in it, I'm swearing right now.
Yeah. Then you're white knuckling it. But these guys over here, we just get to watch them and enjoy the show as the wheels now start to go down on some of the cars. Of course, what they can do is set the cars up while it's parked like that. And then once they're done with the setup, they click ready to race. The car gets dropped onto the ground and then off they go. Tire warmers will still be engaged if the cars are on the air jacks. So the drivers will want to get the maximum amount of warmth out those tires, but they do get one warm-up lap there.
Yeah, and trying to hold any sort of temperature on a formation lap, which is a pretty long lap here at Suzuka, is going to be tricky. It's going to be hard. I mean, there's not much you can do. You can try your best. We'll be seeing a lot of weaving and erratic braking in the formation lap before we go across the line and go green, because they want to try and keep any possibility of as much warmth they can in the brakes and the tires going into that first corner, because it can be a bit of carnage here going on the exit of turn 2. There will definitely be places moving around, but Harry Spears, that inside line is very favourable at Suzuka. He's got to be feeling happy about that.
Yeah, I think I actually forgot that this is going to be a very long formation lap. A very, very long formation.
It's up there with Spa, isn't it? It's a long one. So yeah, keeping any form of tyres. I mean, they're obviously restricted on the maximum speed they can do, so that it's a bit of a futile exercise, really.
Yeah, the nerves are building up as we cut to the grid, and now we do our customary grid walk to talk you guys through who you see on screen at the moment.
Look how shiny that tarmac is.
It's glass. It's glass out there at the moment. And rain predicted all the way through at this stage, so it looks like the circuit's going to be slippery. It might be drying, but at the moment, all I'm seeing is more rain for the foreseeable future. As the camera pans its way to the lead drivers, you got Harry Spears in first place over there. He's going to be starting on the inside over there, so he's on your left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen, you see Tariq Adam over there. He will have the outside line going into turn 1, and that makes up row number 1. In row number 2, on your left-hand side, is Silverlinen as the lights come on. To the right of him is Morgan Mccaul. Welcome to the second row of the grid, Morgan, and welcome to the front of the pack. I'm sure he's going to be quite happy with that. Behind that is Zahir Essa on your left there, wipers ablaze. Next to him is Fosh, the man we might be streaming right now. If you want to check that out, hear what he has to say, go check that out on Twitch. Yetzi on the left-hand side. Then next to him is Philip Minnaar. Behind that is Bauer on your left. Appel on the right-hand side over there in 10th place. In 11th place is Bosch. Next to him is Barkhazen, and the rest of the grid now starts to go as Deploy, Guren, King, Goit, Gous, Mecking, Jacobs and the rest of the boys make their way onto the formation lap. Let's go racing.
Nicely done, Ernest. Very nice. And we're getting good at these names. Well, you are. And it looks fantastic with the lights going through that pit walk, doesn't it? I love it with a glassy sort of tarmac surface and then the blazing lights of these Mercedes-Benz AMG. And everyone's got to cope with those in their rearview mirror, apart from Harry Spears. So he's the one that wants to get a good start, but it's a rolling start. It's a big advantage. Turn one's not quite so bad when you've got a rolling start, and he can cover that inside line quite nicely.
Yeah, so it looks like the rain a little bit harder now from my screen over here. It looks like there's much more rain now than we saw in qualifying, Dan. So it's full wet conditions at this stage. The guys are running wet tires at the moment. I'm going through the list here. All of them are on the wets at the moment. Wentworth is on dries, but I'm not sure if Wentworth...
That's got to be a mistake, isn't it? Surely.
He's in the pits now. Wentworth's gone to
he's
the
made
pits.
a mistake.
So he's made a mistake. So there's a bit of a problem there from Wentworth, Dad.
Well, I guess if you're starting 22nd, starting from the pit lane 23rd, doesn't make much difference, does it? So a little bit of damage limitation there from Wentworth, but for 100% you want to be on the wet tyre, and they'll probably be trying to eat that tyre out for the whole race if they possibly can. Look, standing water in the gravel traps as we go around here. So there's definitely a lot of it. It's like the thunderstorms have been there for the last couple of days that was forecasted, and then we're trying to sneak a quick 1 hour sprint race in between thunderstorms. But yeah, everyone weaving around trying to get any sort of temperature in these tyres or keep the temperature in there before they go green.
Temperature is all that matters at this stage because they don't have much of it, Dan. It's going to be terribly slippery out there, and these drivers are going to have to nurse their way around turn one. I, for one, am glad that I'm not stuck out there on the circuit with them. At least not right now. Hopefully with a little bit of practice, yes, but jeez Louise, man, this is going to be a tough ask, especially for the guys at the mid-pack, because they won't be able to see a thing. But if you are someone that's pretty good at wet weather driving, you must be loving it. I myself do quite like and enjoy wet weather driving, and there are rules to driving in the wet, Dan. And if you stick to those rules, you can make a lot of positions up in a very short period of time.
Well, I'm an Englishman, so I basically only know wet weather driving. I learned to drive in the rain, and I've had until I moved here. I didn't realise what a nice sticky tarmac was. But yeah, maybe not in anger. I much prefer. Yeah. I'm an iRacer as well. We don't have rain in that sim. So yeah, these Assetto Corsa competizione drivers, they have to put up with a lot more than we do in iRacing, because the changeable condition is what makes this sim. I think it's fantastic. It's definitely its highlight.
Well, now we're looking down on the top 5 over there. In 5th place, Essa at the back as the rest of the pack starts to sort of concertina towards each other. The lights now, as you can see over there, shining quite brightly on those reflections. Next to Essa is Foch over there in 6th place. Foch has to slip back though, and Mccaul finds himself in a very comfortable 4th place as we go through the final section. And here is the start of the race, folks. Dan, any final words?
No, fingers crossed they can get through turn 1 though. In these conditions, it's going to be really tricky. Someone's going to make a hash of it. Will it be one of our leaders? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure when we go back through the field, if we stick with Helicam, we're going to see a few guys going wide, because that's just always happens.
Oh, well, here we go, folks. The wait is over. The start of round 5 at Suzuka is about to begin. Spears and Adam lead us off. The lights are about to go out as they cross the line. Off we go. Green, green, green. Spears in the lead. Adam still right next to Silverline and quite far ahead. Mccaul made the mistake of hanging back a little bit, but Adam ever so slightly in the lead. He goes around the outside of turn 1. Oh, 2 of them go wide. Adam goes off. Mccaul goes off, comes back on again. Silverline and slots in. And oh, there is pandemonium, but luckily no big mistakes so far. Further back, Minna makes some big moves on Bauer. Foch as well in the mix there. But so far, so good. Most of them are on the circuit, or at least near the circuit. Don't see any major incidents so far anywhere, and a good start from all of these drivers so far, but more so for Spears, who manages to maintain 1st position. Adam somehow keeps 2nd after that mistake. Mccaul in a convenient 3rd position.
Yeah, very close there from Tree Callums. He was very quick off the line. He actually had an advantage over Spears, and he was trying to take that into turn one. But I think the tricky conditions just, he outbraked himself and went wide. So he was the one that went wide the most. Spears sort of followed him a little bit, but no harm done because he did at least manage to keep that second place, and now he can try and regroup. But Harry Spears has got off nicely and very clean driving throughout the pack.
I cannot believe that both of them made those big mistakes and hardly paid any sort of price for that. Efsa still in 5th place, Mccaul in 4th, Silverlinen in 3rd, Adam in 2nd, and Spears still in 1st place. I mean, that was close.
Yeah, but turn one, that's what turn one's like here. You can really push that braking, knowing that if all else fails, there is room to go wide. It's the one corner where you can push out wide. And unless someone's sending it up the inside, you can get away with it. And that's exactly what happened. They both followed each other off. Silverlinen almost poached the place, though, and got into 2nd spot. And he's now hounding the back of Tariq Adams. So Silverlinen wants to try and get a double win here after his great race at the Nürburgring. But to do so, he's got to get and dispatch Adams because Spears is having a good first lap after that first mistake on the first corner.
Spears, as you mentioned, now starting to nurse his car around the circuit and starting to nurse off a little bit of a lead there by the looks of things as Spears. Adam in 2nd place, but Adam does seem to be falling back quite a bit at this stage. Spears now starting to lead us off ever so slightly, and this is not ideal for Adam, not ideal at all.
No, it's Silverlinen. He's really looking, isn't he? He's looking at the back of that Tree Callums and he fancies his chances. I think the conditions here are a lot worse than we had in qualifying. And here we go as Silverlinen looks up the inside. Just looks like he's got more grip, but very hard to go 2 abreast through the S's. You got to compromise your line. Silverlinen thinks of second of it and drops back behind Adams. He'll now be having or preparing himself for maybe a cheeky dive in Diagonal 1 or 2.
Well, Adam went wide there once again, and I thought for a second that might be the correct line through there, but Silverlinen somehow just came in so much more tight and manages to close that gap. And Adam, the cork in the bottle, as you say, Dan, in 2nd position. And look at Spears. Remember, no mandatory pit stops for this race, so Spears could be running away with this one. Got a replay coming up now as we cut to the replay now. This is Simon Bauer on Philip Minnaar earlier on. And look at that. Oh, big hit there. Big hit by Bauer onto Minnaar. Minnaar recovers, manages to get back on the circuit and just keeps himself under trouble.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a little bit of damage that he'll have to nurse for the rest of this race. And that's not what you want when there's 56 minutes to go. But there's a bit of a shunt up the back into the Casio Triangle. And back on circuit, but I think he'll definitely be losing a bit of downforce at some point. I'm surprised we haven't seen more there, if I'm totally honest. Really am surprised we haven't seen more. Overall, pretty clean. It just looks like everyone's gingerly going around, just trying to feel any sort of grip that they can as it constantly changes. We've got a 15-second penalty that's been added to our number 27 car. So that's the first penalty we've seen. Possibly Simon Bauer might be getting the second one, though, looking at that replay.
Yeah, these penalties are being handed out, and rightly so. We got to keep the racing as clean as is possible.
Oh, power slide from Fosh there, and is he going to cause someone else to have... No, man, I can't believe he didn't collect someone else there. He was completely sideways.
I am literally holding my fist to my face over there. Sorry about the high-pitched shriek, folks, but that was too close. That was too close. That was going to the pits in the back of an ambulance.
It looked great though. I mean, I thought we were in the drifting championship for some point. It was a full 4-wheel slide for the whole of that corner, and luckily didn't collect anyone else.
Yeah, that was absolute luck there, because usually in those types of situations, Dan, you find yourself just at the wrong place at the wrong time, getting T-boned at 200 kilometers an hour. Not ideal at all. Not ideal at all.
So I'm just looking at the lap times. Yeah, I mean, even our fastest guy on circuit, which is Harry Spears, he's got a good lead already of nearly 3 seconds, but it's 12 seconds off their qualifying pace, which was already greasy conditions. And here we are riding on board with Philip Minnaar, and we see the rain coming down and the wipers frantically trying to clear it away. And that is the difference. 12 seconds they're losing. That's how slippery this track is right now.
Just look at how hard Philip Minnaar has to work that car over there. He might be suffering from damage as well, but still all over the place. I mean, look at that, constantly correcting, constantly working the steering wheel. And we've heard that there has been some visibility issues, but Minna now finds himself, even with that punt earlier on, finds himself at the back of Zahir Issa, championship leader.
Yeah, because even if you've got a bit of damage, the one advantage is when you're 12 seconds off is it's not going to be fundamentally. I mean, look at it squirming around. I mean, just any sort of grip he's looking for. But yeah, that a bad car, a damaged car is still going to be. It's down to driver's skill when you're in these sort of conditions. You go, yeah. Philip Minnaar at one moment is trying to push Essa, one tiny little slide, and then now he's under pressure from behind.
Philip Minnaar's got a pal right behind him. I mean, look at how close he is. Lights ablaze off the circuit behind the car. All you see in that situation is a big, bright light behind you. You've got to focus on what's ahead. And in this case, it's Zahir Issa, championship leader, in 6th place, just up ahead. And these guys are all the while trying to maintain and just keep their cars on the circuit. Just trying to survive. And look at a bunch of them. That's Marquez and King and Goit having a bit of a battle over there.
That's just trying to force his way through in a one-car chicane where there's only one line through there. But he's sort of muscling. Yeah, I'm coming through, guys. Thank you very much. But I think that's what you can. The lap times are so all over the place. I mean, 2:14s we're talking out right now. That yeah, you have one little mistake and you can drop 2-3 seconds, can't you? And probably a few places as well. So it gingerly going around, just trying to feel any sort of grip. And we're going to see a few taps, I think.
Yeah, King gets it very sideways there. He's got Goit right behind him. In front of King, he's got Guren. And Guren also slipping and sliding. All of these guys waiting for the guy in front to make a mistake or the guy behind to stop pressurizing. But you just watch these guys constantly making corrections. They're one teeny tiny mistake from being spat off this very, very wet circuit at this stage there.
Yeah, 60-minute race is going to feel like a 9-hour enduro, isn't it? They're going to struggle here. We've had back in the previous rounds that this car struggles on full pace to do the 60-minute without a bit of fuel saving. That should be helped now in the wet because obviously these guys are not going to be on full beans all the time. Oh, and there's contact, a slight nudge on the rear.
The slightest nudge. He's Guren going to take him out? No, he doesn't. Guren manages to correct, and Guren is back on the circuit just behind though. He is back on the circuit. It was a very slight nudge, and that's the kind of mistake that happens at that corner over there. That is the kind of mistake that does happen. He came across, he just got the tap there from King. I'm not sure if that was malicious from King, but let's see.
I don't think so. I think it's just that any tap when you're already on the edge of grip is going to send you round, and he just pirouetted. We got that 15-second penalty we're expecting for Simon Bauer on his punt of Philip Minnaar. So he's got to deal with that in 9th place. And I think I don't know, the stewards will maybe look at that other incident a little bit differently because, I don't think it was malicious at all.
Yeah,
but,
the door was closed, and he did, Guren did close the door there. We've got a car parked on the side of the circuit there, I just saw. Trying to figure out who that is. So, a couple of cars getting left on the side. That's King. King, we're just talking about King earlier on. King was parked on the side of the circuit, so King's made a mistake. If we can catch a replay of that, I would love to see what's happened there. So many guys going wide in places as well. Oh, Leon Jacobs also running wide further back.
Oh, King's having a nightmare because he's off again. And Mecking in front is also off. There's guys all over the place struggling. It's King that's struggling the most, trying to rejoin now. So yeah, I think these conditions are going to take its toll. Like you said, if you can literally just keep out of trouble and stay on circuit, you could end up with a pretty good result here.
Well, here's the replay of King now, and this is earlier on. King got pushed all the way back to 22nd position after this. And that was the first. Oh my goodness me! So that's what happened. That
Avoiding
was
another car.
Oh my goodness! So all of these guys got caught up in that incident with Guren and King earlier on, and then later again, King made another mistake. So there was another issue later on with King. But unfortunately, those two drivers right behind that incident, I didn't see that there.
No, we're looking at
much worse.
Yeah, we're looking at the front, weren't we? I mean, we just missed it. We need it helicam, but that's the problem. You come around the corner, and if a car's pirouetting in front of you, there's not much you can do about it, is there?
Yeah, of that corner there, Dan, that's the kind of corner where the left side of the car's fully loaded up and you're turning to the right, the car's fully loaded up, and now before you get to the tight left hand, I think that spoon curve over there, you've got to line it up properly, and when you touch the brakes early in wet, the car's going to spin.
Yeah, and a slight tap on that rear quarter, which was what caused the whole thing. So maybe the stewards will take a dim view on the fact that it caused a whole load of carnage behind, affected a few people's races. But the stewards are from SIMGRID. They're not affiliated with ATK in any way, so we'll get a nice impartial view of that when they have a good look at it.
Yeah, I've got to say, so far the stewarding this season has been fantastic. The guys are, in general, loving it. So it's good to see some fair stewarding. It's good to see the guys, the community, happy with the stewarding as far as I know. So hopefully they'll get that one right. But King has punished himself. He's now sitting in 21st position after a sequence of incidents.
Yeah, all he can do is try and recover. There's still plenty of time, 48 minutes to go in a wet race, and keep it clean and you can work your way back up through the field. Harry Spears just seems to have got this hooked up, doesn't he? His lap times are the only one in the 2:13s. He's consistently quicker than Tariq Adams behind, and he's just managing that gap of sort of between 2 and 3 seconds. Sovalainen has Adams is got a bit more comfortable. Maybe he's got his tyres in the window. He's a bit more used to these conditions, because Sovalainen doesn't seem to. He just seems to be following him around right now, where there's a lot of pressure in the earlier laps, and Morgan Mccaul in 4th place. So not a huge amount happening right now. But yeah, these conditions over the next 47 minutes could change, and that could make a big difference to the amount of grip you suddenly feel if you can get these tyres in the window. So important to have your pressures correct in ACC.
I think it's going to get worse, Dan. I think it's only going to get worse. And as we watch Una Sovalainen in 3rd position over here, I like what he's doing. I like the fact that he's just pushing his car behind Adam, as we see yet another car parked on the side. I think that was Wentworth over there. Wentworth now slipping back to 21st position after an incident. And you can see this is what he needs to do. It's still a long race. If he can get 2nd position here, it will be very good for his championship. And to try and battle Adam in these conditions would be futile at this stage.
Yeah, you can't make a rash decision in these conditions, can you? You've just got to try and be smooth. And we saw how much he was working at his wheel when we were on board there. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like watching an onboard of someone in a movie, isn't it? Where they're just frantically going left, right on the steering wheel. It doesn't look like they're actually driving. But that is actually the case here, just to try and keep this thing in a straight line. They're never, it's never standing still, is it? So there's a lot of work going on. So the last thing you want to do is try and think, well, I'll outbrake him into turn 1, especially on a 46 minutes to go. Because you can rely on a mistake happening at some point, can't you? A little bit more than you would have done on a dry track.
Well, if they keep driving like a scene from Gone in the Wind, then something's going to happen.
Exactly
that's
that.
For sure. Like those old school green screens were terrible, though, weren't they?
They really were bad. But I mean, we ride on board here, and it looks a little bit like that. So yeah, maybe they were just really pushing in the wet.
Oh yeah, I love it. Sovalainen in 3rd position. Still, we now cut to our leader, Harry Spears, the forgotten Harry Spears at this stage, because he's kind of running off into the distance. So far 3.2 seconds ahead of 2nd place man, and that's a very solid gap with just 15 minutes completed so far, and another 45 to go.
Yeah, he got a good chunk on that last lap, sort of 7 tenths in 1 lap. So I think Adams made a bit of a mistake there, and so Sovalainen will be on him. But you're just gingerly going around, and you don't really want to be pushing. You don't want to be driving at 100%. 95's enough, because the mistake is going to come at some point, and you just want to try and minimize those. Yeah,
exactly. So far the lap times, 2:13 for Sovalainen, 2:13.8, sorry, 2:13.0 for Adam. And something's happened here. I'm seeing Adam as 3rd place, Sovalainen as 2nd, but it's just my standings that's gone incorrect. I apologize. So Sovalainen 2:13.6, Adam 2:13.0. So at this stage now, Sovalainen just did a 2:13.2. The system's not racking up. Oh, Adam's run wide. Adam's run wide. If we can just cut to that. Adam has run wide, and here comes Sovalainen now. That is the mistake we were talking about. It's finally happened, and Adam has run wide. Can Sovalainen get the run on him here going onto the main straight? They were out of sync for those corners, but Adam seems to have made sure that he ended up with a slight advantage over there, even after that mistake, running wide at that iconic high-speed corner.
Yeah, 130R is the one corner where you can sort of get away with it a little bit. You can drift out a little bit wide. If you carry enough speed and you cover that inside line, the next corner is literally only one car can get through there, through the chicane. So that's exactly what Adam did. He managed to get on the brakes last and just hold it. So got away with that, really, did Tariq Adams, and he still holds the second place. I think Soberline's doing the right thing. He's not trying to force it. He's just happy following and then waiting for that door to open with a mistake, I think.
Well, he's clearly got the pace at this stage, Dan. He's able to close that distance every time. And if that's what he's able to do, then why apply any extra pressure? Because the pressure's already there.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing, as we've already seen, if you've got contact between two cars in these conditions, you're going to send someone round. And the last thing you want is a 15-second red blocks next to your name. No. So you've got to get through cleanly, and that's especially important tonight.
Dan, I think the circuit is drying up ever so slightly at this stage. All the cars are coming into their own. All the cars have suddenly gone green for the most part, the top four at least. So maybe a little bit of extra pace somewhere, not quite sure where, maybe a bit less fuel they're running, maybe the track conditions drying up, but at the moment, it looks like it's going to be raining for at least for the rest of this race.
Yeah, the times are coming down, not a huge amount considering we're still 11 seconds off qualifying time, or 10 seconds in the case of Harry Spears. So they're battling, and there's a plenty of spray, so certainly wet tyres is required. But it doesn't seem to get worse. So with a little bit, they're getting more used to it. The fuel's burning off a little bit, but by no means is there a dry line.
No dry line as yet. I'm trying to find one, but I don't think it exists. I'm sure all these drivers are trying to find it too. Morgan Mccaul still in 4th place. We now cut to Deploy in 10th position over there, and he's got Bauer in front of him. Bauer sitting there with a 15-second penalty. So Deploy will be quite happy to know that he does have an advantage in that ATK car if he just gets to the finish line and is able to leapfrog Bauer in 9th place for that 9th position.
He does, but there's too much time left, isn't there? 41 minutes, doesn't want to be held up. He can try and get past if he can. If he can get past cleanly, then there's places to be gained above. I don't think Bauer's losing too many places at the moment. He's got a few chunky gaps behind, and Voss is 10 seconds behind Barkhuizen, who himself is 5 seconds behind Christian Deploy. So Bauer at the moment's only losing 3 places with that 15-second penalty. But yeah, Christian Deploy looks like he wants to make a move, doesn't he?
Yeah, it does look like the drivers are now starting to get a handle on these conditions. Most of them holding on. We just see number 25 car King gets a 5-second penalty for that incident early on. So King did, after all, get a 5-second penalty.
I think that's fair, though. 5 seconds, it was such a light tap, wasn't it? It certainly wasn't malicious. It wasn't a punt like we saw before. So, yeah, just an unfortunate 5-second one there. And it affected a few drivers a little bit more than others, which was a shame. But, yeah, it wasn't really King's fault.
And the consequences of that as well, Dan. I mean, you saw the cars behind getting affected by that as well. Just looking at the guys, they're running different maps over here. Harry Spears in 1st place running map number 2, and Adam running map 1, and so is most of the rest of the guys behind him. So Spears might be on a fuel-saving drive at this stage, comfortably in the lead.
That's nice if you can save fuel and you're still leading. But we did see at Spa especially that this car can't do a 60-minute race without a bit of fuel saving involved. You'd think that that would be a little bit easier now in wet weather conditions, but it might still be the case that they just need to manage that a little bit. Spears is doing an absolutely fantastic job, though. He's still the times are coming down, but every time they go into a new milestone of a 2:11, Harry Spears is the first one to get there. And the gap, 4.7 seconds, is still growing. 40 minutes to go. We're a third of the way through this already.
I think Harry Spears is definitely a driver to watch. I mean, he's absolutely composed at the moment, isn't he?
We've seen it at times this season, hasn't it? When he gets it hooked up, he really does get it hooked up. With 2 rounds still to go, if he can take a win here and at the end, I'm not sure. That's going to be really mightily close on points with Essa. So a lot to play for the championship at the ATK Pro Series. And the last one's going to be tricky, though. That's one where pole position really, really matters. Bathurst, up that mountain. There's always a traffic jam there.
I'm excited for that. We're going to the chats now. I see Kalen Mauer in the chat says good luck all. Tycho Game says go Jacobs and Mecking. Noor Hendricks grabs the popcorn. And Kalen Mauer says let's go Tariq. See Jonathan Bell, Raymond Mooney also in the chat over there. So welcome guys. Keep those chats coming. Let's keep that engagement up and let's hear what you guys have to say about the racing. What you think of the guys out on circuit and who you're supporting, of course, as we see Jonas Sovalainen making his way through there, right up on that back bumper of Tariq Adam at this stage. And the two of them seesawing within half a second to a second of each other. But Sovalainen not able to get past just yet, and Adam not able to get away at all.
Eunice Uvalainen, I think, was upset that he didn't get any stream time last time out because he just launched himself off and we didn't see much of him. But the rest of this season, he's a good driver to watch because he's had some mighty battles right from the first race at Kyalami. He seems to spend a good chunk of it welded to the back of another Mercedes-AMG, and that is the case here with Tariq Adams. Basically 22 minutes trying to find a way past and still can't get through, but within half a second. Takes its toll on the old concentration, that does, following someone that closely for that long.
Jeez, but these guys are so good at that. Adam taking a different line to Sovalainen through that corner there, but as he now cut to Bauer with a 15-second penalty. Unfortunately in ninth position, still deploy, not able to get past half a second between them, and that does seem to be the following distance here, Dan, about half a second or so. You can't really get much closer than that in these conditions, at least not like they have before in the dry, where the guys are running bumper to bumper.
It's just a bit too risky, isn't it? Especially in sort of turn one, you go on the brakes, the ABS kicks in a little bit, and that half seconds has gone down to, oh crap, I've hit the back of your car very quickly. So I think it's a wise thing to do, and you really just sat there waiting for someone to drift off wide, and then you can readjust your line.
Well, speaking of readjusting, Bauer has to do so now with a 15-second penalty. He'll be quite well aware of that, Will Bauer. But now we cut to the battle in second position. Adam in the 99 car, Sovalainen in the 100 car.
We got a fresh penalty in 22nd position. Jacobs in the 87 car has got a 10-second. So we've got a few squares, red boxes next to people's names. All dished out for various reasons. I think we're aware of all of them. Not quite sure about Jacobs, but he's got a bit to do from the back. But this is the battle, really, isn't it? That we're looking at is for the second place. But Apple on Minar also is very close with 4/10, which is what we're looking at right now. So there's a few close battles throughout, and apart from that, the grid's sort of spread out a little bit, as you'd expect with. I mean, wet weather racing's brilliant, but ideally you want it to be dry at some point, and that really mixes it up. But these times are still sort of static on the 2:12 mark.
Yeah, I do quite like wet weather driving, but I think just based on the fact that these cars are so evenly matched, you don't get certain cars that are faster in straights and certain cars are... I watched a local wet weather race the other day. It was so exciting because the cars were so different in different parts of the circuit. The big power guys couldn't get the power down, and certain guys with lots of grip were going faster through certain corners, and then on the end of the straight, the big power guys would catch up. So with the one-make series, you have lots of exciting elements, but at the moment, the guys kind of, as you say, Dan, they've got to play the waiting game. I do, however, think that in the last 10 to 15 minutes, things are going to come to a head in some way or form, as we watch Appel there in the 29 car run ever so slightly wide. Minard, though, able to hold him off, and now Minard's got a little bit of respite there from Appel.
Yeah, Appel completely missed the second half of that chicane. It went right over the curb and onto the AstroTurf, so dropped quite significantly back from Minard. Minard will be happy to lose a bit of pressure, and we'll go on to another battle. But I think you're right. You're happy just following another car, waiting for that mistake to happen or the loss of grip. But when the last sort of 10 minutes, 10 minutes come, that's when you just maybe start to push it a little bit more. And that's when we're going to see a bit of action maybe. But I think there's still fights to be had throughout this field.
Yeah, look, for us, it might not be the most exciting thing to see. But I tell you what, these guys are white-knuckling it at the moment around the circuit, Dan. All of them are zoned in hard right now because they have to be.
Yeah, if we can have a few more on boards, we can see exactly as they're fighting that wheel. It is mad how much they're looks quite stable and going all nicely from this outside cam. Then you jump inside, and yeah, they're definitely sweating. Some guys are going to be. We'll get comments in Discord afterwards, I'm sure, about how difficult this race. So here we go. Look, Harry Spears. So he's our fastest guy on circuit, and he looks like the most composed. But that is twitching all the time, constantly just nudging left and right.
And he's running map 2 at the moment, which means he's on a slightly less aggressive map at this stage. First drive-through penalty of the day. Car number 14 gets a drive-through penalty. That's silver. So look at those minor adjustments there. I think Harry Spears, though, is definitely one of the better guys in the wet. You want a car that's slightly more understeery over here, and I think he's got that ever so slightly, especially over the tight stuff there as he goes through the chicane. But so many adjustments happening all the time as he cuts onto a dry line. They're not running the outside, and let's watch Harry Spears as he crosses the line.
He's much smoother than when we were on board with Philip Minard, who we think possibly is nursing a bit of damage anyway. But yeah, Minard was seesawing his wheel quite significantly. Harry Spears is certainly working at it, especially if we go through these S's. Look, this is where it's tricky. Constantly trying, you're drifting, you're understeering at different points of the corner, and that just trying to manage that grip.
It does go from understeer phase to oversteer phase quite quickly in these conditions, and that's what you got to manage, isn't it? You want the car to understeer ever so slightly, give him the power, it loosens up a little bit, you open up the steering wheel. That's exactly what Philip Minard is doing, at least what Spears is doing. There's been now cut to Minard in 7th position, still getting pressure from Mccaul there just behind him. And Mccaul made a mistake earlier on, not able to capitalize. But these types of battles are happening all over the circuit, half a second gaps. We've seen that in more than a few instances there. It's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, they're really struggling to make any sort of paths, haven't we? We've got the same gaps that we've been looking at almost since the start. So Serverlining on Adam is within a second the entire race. Then you've got Apple on Minard within a second the entire race, and Christian Deploy, you can't get through Simon Bauer. So it just shows you it's one thing, just they're using all of their concentration just to get their car around the lap. Trying to get a pass is something completely different.
And what we've also found, and we've seen this over the years, that the caliber of drivers, not just in South Africa, of course, but certainly of the South African drivers that we've seen, the caliber of drivers has shifted. The guys are getting better. They're getting better at stringing laps together. And that's what we're seeing here. The mistakes aren't as often as we expected. Certainly not from the top 10. Yes, at the back, you will be seeing many mistakes. But when it comes to the top 10 guys, they're not making that many mistakes at all.
That's just frustrating, isn't it? They're too damn good. What do we do at this point to try and mix it up?
Some oil on the circuit. Somebody throw some oil on the circuit.
They're so well schooled, though, aren't they? They can get a lot of practice in all the conditions on the sim. That was mightily close through the hairpin. Very close.
That was Gous over there in 14th position, coming through Spoon Curve over there. Very close indeed. A little bit too close for comfort. I'm sure you'll be stomping a little, putting a couple of extra PSI on that brake pedal there as he came into that tight corner.
Yeah, relieved that you stopped in time without contact, isn't it? Yeah, I think the eyes were closed at the end of that braking zone and just waiting for the nudge of your force feedback in your wheel, and it didn't happen. So he reopened them and went round the hairpin nicely.
It's a terrible feeling because you can calculate the closing distance, can't you?
Yeah, when you're a passenger, it's horrible, isn't it? When there's nothing you can do, everything's locked up, and you're just wincing, thinking contact's coming.
I've had brakes fail into the back of someone like that. Luckily, not too bad. It just sort of 70%. I would say I had about 40-50% braking, and foot flat on the pedal, and just the rushing up the back of another car.
So you're saying the car in front was 60% of your braking?
Basically, we made it through the corner.
Yeah.
So they say yes.
Yeah, it's not nice, and that's why you just want to leave yourself a little bit more of a margin here, and that's why we're seeing gaps slightly bigger than what we've seen in other races where they followed so closely behind. But I think it's just, yeah, you just know that you've got to give yourself a little bit more leeway.
A lot of the drivers now once again starting to get into those green zones. So the circuit conditions definitely, either the circuit conditions are improving. I'd love to hear from these drivers, or their cars are just getting ever so slightly faster every couple of laps, maybe because of the tires coming on, maybe because of the fuel load. But the differences are small though, Dan. It's half a second here and there.
Yeah, so from the start of this race, we've improved by about 4 or 5 seconds in lap time, but in half an hour. So a little bit more than fuel burning off for sure. Some of it is in grip. Oh, that's the second lap in a row, isn't it, where he's had to take avoiding action there.
And that's the exact corner. We saw the same thing happen.
Yeah, the hairpin corner again before Spoon.
It's with other drivers as well, with King earlier on.
Yeah, you come through Degner 2 and you just got you're trying to carry as much speed to the braking zone of the hairpin, and yeah, you often see a bit of contact there. So tight, it's really only inside line. Spoon's not so bad here.
That was Guren that ran a little bit wide there. I gotta say, the guys are very, very good when they do run wide. You can see the composure for most of the guys. They're able to not lose much ground. They know running wide here is par for course sometimes. So Deploy had a big look.
Big look, yeah. Christian Deploy's thinking this is his time to get past Simon Bauer. I mean, we're going into the second half of this race, and had a very nice look up the inside of turn 1. Thought better of it and has dropped back for sector 1. But a bit more pressure being piled on here. Only 2/10 back.
Yeah, only 2/10 back now, and maybe impatience starting to creep in with Deploy on Bauer, and now he's right up on that back bumper. 15-second penalty. Appel now has somehow managed to get 11 seconds ahead of these two. So Deploy, obviously, I would imagine, quite frustrated now because, as you said, Danny, will want to get past as quickly as possible to try and hunt for the rest of the field, and he's not able to do so, at least not at this stage, being held up by Bauer in 9th position.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Bauer knows that he's lost the position to Deploy because of the penalty. So it's just a case of whether he's losing time trying to keep him behind him. And I don't think he's losing time, but if Deploy sends up the inside, I'm pretty sure Bauer just let him have it, because then they can work together and try and make sure he gets a 15-second gap to stay in that important top 10 and into the money.
I do think Deploy is faster in certain parts of the circuit, and Bauer knows that. But usually we've seen the lead driver with a penalty just let the other driver go through. But in this case, because as you mentioned earlier on, Dan, because of the wet weather, the gaps are much bigger. So in this situation here, Bauer, quite rightly so, just trying to get ahead. If he could stay ahead far enough, he could pip Barkhuizen in 11th position.
Yeah, I don't think he's losing any time, Bauer, at the moment, because Deploy, he's had a good look, but he hasn't actually done anything about it, has he? He hasn't actually tried to send anything or make a pass. So I don't think Bauer will fight it if that happens, but Deploy's not been close enough. He's pretty damn close here, though, as they go through the Casio chicane. And will he be looking up the inside? He didn't have a very good exit, did he, Deploy? So he's dropped back a bit.
Yeah, the drivers really are seesawing at this stage. Not much overtaking happening at the moment. Lots of patience.
We've got Voss in the pits. What's Voss doing from 12th position in the pits?
So we got a replay now. We got an incident with Voss. Voss went into the pits earlier on, and
on his own, straight into the wall. That was the passenger we talked about, wasn't it? He definitely had his. He was concerned there for sure. There was nothing he can do about it. He corrected it twice, but eventually he just ran out of circuit.
Yeah, that's such a, you know, it's one of those situations where any other day, I'm sure you would have gotten that corner fine. You would have been able to correct it, no issue. But just this one time, you might have overcorrected there ever so slightly. And then going into the hairpin over there just makes that mistake and pays the ultimate price. Now finds himself all the way down the order, does Voss.
He got 2 good corrections in there, and he just couldn't get the brakes on, did he? So he just eventually full lockup basically on the ABS and into the wall. So that explained my sudden disarray of why he was in the pit lane, but there was significant damage there. He's got no choice but to come in and repair it, unfortunately.
So here we go once again. Ruan Gous as he goes through to chase Guren in 12th position, 13 and 12th position. And these battles, as we said, Dan, happening all over the place. Incredible to see half-a-second gaps in these conditions. And I got to say, I made a mistake earlier, and I called this the spoon curve. Of course, spoon curve is
the one that looks like a spoon. The next one.
Is the
that is just the hairpin.
Yeah. Now they go through turn 12.
Like I said, these Japanese, they call it as they like. It's first corner, and the spoon literally looks like a dinner spoon.
I do quite like their naming convention. Oh, gets up close and personal there. And Dan, we forget to mention sometimes, right? If you're the driver in front, I've had to lift off the brakes to avoid an incident from someone behind. But these guys are also on point. You know, the driver in front has always remained calm, even when the one behind has come so close.
I think maybe they don't realize how close they've come to an accident. When you're in front, you just hope for the best, don't you? You got a lot of respect from these guys in the top half of this field, though. I think they know the skills there, and they trust that the guy behind is. Just what I was going to say. They trust the guy behind. Yeah, live to fight another day between these two. I think.
Live to fight another day, indeed. And on the word, Dan. On the word.
I know that really almost ended very badly for me, but well done, guys. They're still going.
You almost earned yourself the commentator's curse there. A bit of a late braking maneuver there for the car in front. Yes, he does. Down the inside goes Coast. Coast takes the position. And for the first time in a while, we see a solid overtake. And as you mentioned, Dan, it happened because of a mistake, but it's not over yet. Gooden has another look over there, but has to yield. He has to yield. Coast gets ahead eventually. And that was a bit too close for comfort there.
I saw these two coming together, but in the end, that was a very nice pass sent up the inside as the driver went wide. And it's like, well, thank you very much. I'll take it. He was close enough. And hopefully that's the last time we see these two going to bump together. And we're going to go back up now to Sovalainen, who is still, I mean, he's been the entire race within a second of Tariq Adams. And Adams just doesn't mind him being there. But within 3/10, he's going to want to start having a look now. We're getting into that crunch sort of 20-minute period where people are going to start forcing the pass.
For Sovalainen so far has just done the fastest lap of the race, Dan. So things are starting to hot out, but surely he's going to start to get impatient now. Having said that, we have seen Adam absorb lots and lots of pressure before, but at the same time, we have seen that pressure mount up to breaking point near the end of the race. So could this be Sovalainen's strategy to just keep applying pressure until Adam does decide to brake? Or could this be Adam's coming home? Could this be Adam's homecoming? And he just absorbs that pressure to take second place. We're going to wait and see and find out. Oh, big sideways moment there from Sovalainen. Gets on the power a little bit too much there. And yes, these guys are certainly working it. I would imagine they've got different setups, though. So some of the guys are maybe with a bit more oversteering setup. I do like oversteering setups, but I tell you, it's terrifying in the wet sometimes, that's for sure.
Yeah, it really is. The safe understeery setup is what you want if you can. Sovalainen that was a mighty lap, 2:10.5. I mean, just to give you a bit of context, that's 1.5 seconds quicker than our leader Harry Spears' fastest lap. Now, you can argue that Harry Spears is doing exactly the right thing and managing the gap, and Sovalainen is trying to pile on some pressure from Tariq Adams. But if he can put in one or two more of those laps, then surely he's got the pace to get a pass, hasn't he? He's quicker.
He's just made a little bit of a mistake, and now Tariq Adam suddenly starts to drop the hammer. Tariq Adam could match his time if he does what he's doing now. And look, the gap has gotten a little bit bigger now as we cut back to Julian Gooden in 13th position. Deploy there in 10th position, now applying the pressure still to Bauer, who has not yielded at all in the last 40 minutes of racing. And no quit in some of these guys, that's for sure.
They've been pushing each other along, though, haven't they? Because they've done what they needed in the fact that Bauer, Deploy's gap to Barkhuizen behind is 17.4 seconds. So Bauer's like, well, it doesn't matter. I've already got my 15-second gap to stay in the top 10. So I'm just going to be irritating, basically.
Well, the times are definitely tumbling down. The leader's just done a 2:10.3. Second place man has done a 2:10.5. And third place man still on a 2:10.5. I've got to say, that wide line into turn one, it does seem like that is Tariq Adams' line.
Yeah, trying to hunt for some grip on the outside might definitely be possible. I mean, we're riding on board with Christian Deploy, and you can't understand why times are coming down because the conditions don't look any better at all, do they? The spray off the back of Simon Bauer's Mercedes is really being a bit of a pain to deal with.
Harry Spears, your leader there, getting ever faster as the day progresses. In first place in the 285 car, and that won't be the last time or the first time you'll hear me mention that. Once again, leading this race, having a fantastic season in second place in the championship at the moment, but this could change it all because first place man Zahir Essa finds himself in 6th position, but then Zahir Essa more than likely will drop this round. He did mention that this is one that he is looking to drop, and then it will go down to the final race, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, but the reason why S is here rather than enjoying a holiday is because a DNF at Bathurst is a very real possibility against all odds, or totally not your fault sometimes. You can come around the corner on the mountain and a car's right in front of you. It's happened.
We've seen cars parked across the circuit going on the other side of the mountain, and there's literally a car parked across the entire width of the circuit.
Yeah, it happens, and that's exactly why Essa wants to bank some points, and a solid 6th position, even if it doesn't become your drop round, it's good points in the bank. So yeah, Harry Spears though, I mean, he got to put that out of his mind. He's got to get maximum points today as it stands right now with 18 minutes to go, managing that gap that just gradually increases, but he seems comfortable keeping it around the 4-second mark. And yeah, maximise points to go to the last. Can't stress how important that qualifying session is going to be at Mount Panorama, though.
Savalainen in 3rd position, Adam in 2nd, and I got to commend Tariq Adam for, other than a couple of teeny tiny mistakes here and there, to absorb this kind of pressure in these conditions, in the wet, and in 2nd place like this with Savalainen, Mr. Consistency right behind you. That is an incredible performance from Tariq Adam so far. I don't want to jinx it. 17 minutes to go, but go Tariq, go.
There's been a few drivers here. We'll have a chat to them afterwards, and they'll be like, wow, that was a boring race. Because, I mean, like, Morgan McCall's had a brilliant race. This is going to be his best result so far in 4th position. And not seen anyone, has he? He's 7 seconds behind Sovalainen in 3rd. He's got a nice, comfortable gap over at Ayitzi, who also we have not seen whatsoever. And is just merrily going around to collect a 4th place finish as it stands. So he'll be happy with that, I think, if he's still staying there in 16 minutes' time.
Well, it will be nice to see a good result for some of the drivers that haven't had these types of results. Adam will, for the first, I think this is Adam's highest result so far, and I think that's McCall's highest result so far as well. Adam has been on the podium, though.
Yes.
Got to check my results for that one, but Morgan McCall certainly hasn't been in 4th position yet, so he'll be quite happy with that. So it's nice to see some of the newer drivers making their way, but for that to happen, some of the top faster drivers have to slip down. We've seen that with Essa, who has got Philip Minnaar right behind him as well.
And the likes of Adam and McCall, I mean, they're looking at Philip Minnaar's points, basically, aren't they? And Minnaar didn't have a great Nürburgring, and he's also dropping points to them here at Suzuka, currently running in 7th position. So I think that's going to be very tight. We've got sort of like another little chart to look at for the last round of that top 3 South African places and how close that's going to be between those 4 drivers. I mean, S is definitely going to be in the top 3. That's cemented already. He's going for the overall victory. But Adam, McCall and Minnaar, they're looking to try and make sure they're in that top 3, and there's only 2 places available.
Yeah, well, Zahir Essa leads the championship with 310 points. Harry Spears in 2nd place is 12 points behind him. So this will be very good for Harry Spears, and this is including drop rounds. Philip Minnaar is in 3rd place in the championship. Tariq Adam is in 4th place in this championship, so he's going to shoot up as well. So I think we're starting to see a longer play from some of these drivers. Sovalainen all the way down in 9th place, so a good result today will help. But definitely Tariq Adam and Philip Minnaar should see themselves, at least Tariq Adam, at least should see himself a little bit further up the field. Philip Minnaar might slip down, and Harry Spears, of course, the best performer here today by a long shot.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a masterclass, Harry Spears, isn't he? Put it on pole. It's basically Sovalainen at Nürburgring. Now it's Harry Spears' time at Suzuka, and it's nice to have a mixture of winners, though. If you can hook up your setup on this car and you really find a track that you like, then it doesn't matter what the grip level is. Harry Spears has just consistently been overall quicker than anyone else on the track.
Yeah, Leon Leroux's got some fans in the chat box over there. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Leon Leroux in 16th position. We saw him start his ATK Pro Series career in a Aston Martin, if I'm not mistaken. So also front engine car. Now finds himself in the Mercedes-Benz ATK Pro Series in a Mercedes. And he is down in 16th position, but hopefully he can get closer to King, who's got a 5-second penalty. So I'm sure Leon Leroux is on the charge now to try and get closer to Bernard King.
Yeah, now we're into the last 15 minutes of this race. That's when you really start looking at these penalties and where these drivers are going to end up slotting themselves into the final classification. And exactly as you said, if you've got a driver in front of you that's got a penalty, you've just got to make sure you're within that penalty. So you steal a free spot, basically. So yeah, and the other way around, if you've got the penalty and you're trying to gap it, you're going to be pushing a little bit harder. So maybe a few things being forced in the last 10 minutes of this race. It's the same gaps that we've been looking throughout this race, isn't it? Christian Deploy just cannot get through Simon Bauer here to move into 9th position. He will be getting 9th position no matter what happens. At this point in the race, with a gap a little bit ahead to Apple in 8th, you think to yourself, well, do you really need to push it? I mean, he's going to be in 9th no matter what by the looks of it.
Well, forced errors aside, these drivers only have 13 minutes to capitalize on what is going to be a grandstand finish if anybody's going to try and close those gaps, those half-a-second gaps we see peppered all over this race over here. The rest of the gaps are quite big, but there are a couple of dices happening, and I'm sure each of those drivers are wondering what the other one's going to do and what the other one's going to attempt, as Adam and Sovalainen still find themselves tussling up ahead. Deploy still find himself chasing down Bauer.
Yeah, I mean, Deploy doesn't need to do anything. Bauer's 12 seconds behind the 8th place man. So Deploy now literally can just finish this race staring at the back of the same car he's looked at for the rest of it. So it's going to be job done in that respect for Christian Deploy. Sovalainen is the one where there's really points to be gained, as he's looked at the back of Tariq Adams' car for 50 minutes at this point, right from the very start. Almost had the pass into turn 1 where Adams went wide. Adams managed to hold it, and he's held it for 50 minutes, but surely he's going to try at some point, aren't you? You're not going to spend a whole hour behind there unless he really is on the edge of his pace. I think he's got a little bit in him, Sovalainen.
Yeah, I think he has got it in him. But what we've also seen here is, as I mentioned, this could be Tariq Adams' coming out party, and Sovalainen isn't invited, at least not the 2nd place.
I mean, they've got a good gap over Mccaul in 4th, so it's a fight between the two to who can get one step up on the podium. And yeah, they're just so evenly matched. They really are.
So evenly matched. And this time we don't see Adam running wide. So those times that we did see him running wide was just a dragon edge braking maneuver as they go through the S's now, through these very, very technical sweeps over here. The S curves, quite literally called so by the guys that designed the circuit. and then going into Dunlop. Oh, this is such an iconic corner as well. You really got to bite down, don't you, as you make your way through that long left-hander. Patience is required, and then of course Degner, the Degner curves coming up next.
Yeah, Degner 2, they've just gone through as they come towards the hairpin. That's so easy to mess up Degner 1 and 2 with those the sausage curves on the inside. Haven't seen anyone do much corner cutting here, so it's been pretty clean. I think all the penalties on the board so far have been issued by our stewards. I just think it's Sovalainen in the last 10 minutes. I put it to you that he's definitely going to make a move at some point. We saw it in the very first race, where he eventually tangled, but he spent the season fighting with someone. He picks a driver and then chooses to race against him for 60 minutes, effectively.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have the patience for that, I gotta say. Savalainen still finds himself behind Adam, but this time a little bit closer, Dan. I think the gap is now the closest it's been for a while. We've seen it seesaw from time to time, but now less than half a second, and Savalainen definitely starting to pick up the pace. Now Adam cuts across that curve there ever so slightly. Adam taking slightly unconventional lines, which sees him get ahead out of the chicane. We've seen it every single time. He comes out of the chicane, he's got enough of a gap going to turn one, the first turn, and that is enough to see him through for the rest of the lap until we go through the final chicane, Cassia Triangle once again.
And Harry Spears sets the fastest time of the race with a 2:09. First guy to get into the 2:09s. The track times have just consistently come down throughout the race, but the conditions have been extremely consistent, haven't they? So it's just that as the fuel burns off, they just get a little bit quicker, and with a lighter car, they just find a tiny bit more grip, and they've gained about 5 seconds throughout this race, but they're still 7 seconds off their qualifying pace. So a lot of managing in grip levels here.
So with 8 minutes to go, I'm looking at the screen here, Dan. I can see the rain is going to get less for the next 10 minutes, but after that, it's going to get more. So if you know that the circuit, the time is a little bit faster, depending on how fast the time progression is, we might see a torrential downpour in the final few minutes, or we might just miss it. But either way, things are getting to a point now. So Savalainen now the closest he's ever been to Adam. I'm just watching that take place, and look at that. Adam and Savalainen bumper to bumper now, finally.
Yeah, this is when you really just start to force it, and we're going to the quickest part of the race so far as track times have come down. And Savalainen, though, just these two are just so evenly matched. You feel like you've got to send it somewhere, but how you do that without taking out the guy in front is where the skill's required, and you feel like it's going to be turn one.
And any sort of mistake now with a penalty or a slow lap plus a penalty is going to see Morgan Mccaul leapfrogging both of these guys.
Very true.
That's the last thing Savalainen wants, and that's the last thing Adam wants as well. Adam now going into full defensive mode as we go into the final chicanes. Look at how he gets over that chicane this time, much neater, but he has been seen to be faster here, but not this time. Savalainen this time right on the bumper. Savalainen this time right behind Adam, and this time we're going to turn one. Is this the opportunity Savalainen has been waiting for? Adam now under immense pressure, goes a little defensive. They're going towards turn one. Both of them on pace over here, very fast lap times even previously. Faster still for Adam, looks like it, and for Savalainen at least, as they go into the first corner. This time though, Savalainen much closer.
I thought Savalainen had it. He had an excellent exit out of the Casio chicane, and was as tight as he needed to be going down the main straight, but just not quite enough. So just Tariq Adams was going defensive, really covered that inside line. Don't think he really needed to, but he's feeling the pressure. I think Tariq Adams will go in the last 6 minutes of this race.
6 minutes of this race remaining, as mentioned there by Dan the Man. But will Adam be the man at the end of this? This is such pressure, and it's been unrelenting for the last 55 minutes or so, and it's not going to let up anytime soon. What we do know of Savalainen is that he won't make a mistake. What we don't know about Adam is how he's going to cope with the pressure for the next 6 minutes. Nothing to take away from him, but as mentioned, this could be his moment right here. All he's got to do is stay ahead for the next 6 minutes, and Tariq Adam will have cracked the code and now know what it's like to be under this kind of pressure for this long in the ATK Pro Series, especially in a one-make series. Totally different story if you're all driving different equipment, but to take this kind of pressure from a car that's exactly the same as yours, that's another story.
And it is hard. The pressure does build, especially when you get towards the end of the race. That's why you see so many mistakes at the end of races, because it's one thing keeping a car behind you when you've got 45 minutes to go, but in the last 5 minutes when the nerves come, and in these conditions, so easy just to accidentally run a little bit wide, or just push your braking just a little bit, and the place is gone.
Yeah, we've all won or lost the race on the last corner. So you know it can happen. That's what a master tactician does. Applies so much pressure that one teeny tiny gap avails itself at the right moment. The sniper is Savalainen, the sniper in the field. Or is Tariq Adam the master defender? We're going to find out soon enough with 5 minutes to go.
Looks like Adam's moving offline on purpose. I don't know whether he's like trying to cool his tires a little bit. But down that straight, it just seems to always want to come over on that inside and then goes back out onto the racing line halfway down the straight. But it's working for him. He's doing what he needs. At this point, surely he knows all the tricks that Soverlinen's going to play, because he's had to deal with it for the last 55 minutes. And he's only got 5 minutes to go, basically.
Yeah, and Soverlinen still doesn't have an answer. Spears up ahead, running away with this as we see the lights flashing on the carousel in the distance. Soverlinen still in third position. Tariq Adams still in second position. 4 minutes remaining. That's about 2 odd laps, Dan. So it's down to the wire now for these two.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Soverlinen, you can't do any more than what he's doing. You're just hoping that at some point a mistake will happen. I mean, it's the closest gap on track right now, and it has been almost the entire race, along with Christian Deploy and Bauer. And I think Deploy is just happy to do a follow Bauer around. They're in a different situation with Bauer having a penalty. Soverlinen would very much wish for Tariq Adams to have a penalty next to his name, but that isn't the case. He needs to make the pass on circuit if he wants second place.
3.5 minutes to go. Through the spoon curve they go. The long left-hander. Patience is required as they nurse the throttle onto the long back straight and through one of the most iconic and fastest corners in motorsport. Will there be an incident at some stage, or will things end off as it is? 130R looms ahead. Adam goes through first. Soverlinen follows. Both of them make it through without incident. This is where we've seen all the action so far into the final hairpin over here, the final chicane. And Adam this time a little bit slower than Soverlinen, but he does seem to have the exit on him. Yes, he does. Soverlinen still within striking distance, but Adam's composure, the cool, calm Tariq Adam, stays in second place and lives to tell the story for another lap with only 2.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's just about going to be 2 laps to finish this race. They're going to come over and there'll still be time on the board. So we're going to have 2 laps left. And it's going to go down to the wire between these two. So difficult for Soverlinen to gain any sort of momentum through the chicane, because it's just one abreast through there. There's not much you can do. And in the same machinery, Adam gets to the first corner first, doesn't he? So it's hard to find where he's going to get a play. He's almost got to try somewhere else. But I don't know where that is, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I don't think there is anywhere else, because Adam has proven flawless everywhere else. But yeah, you're right. Maybe a surprise move somewhere is what's required. That's what we're going to find out soon enough. With just 1.5 minutes to go, Soverlinen needs to make it count, and needs to make it count very soon.
Usually it's a desperate lunge into the chicane from not lifting whatsoever on 130R. So let's see whether Soverlinen leaves that to the last lap. But he's trying. When you followed someone that's been pretty flawless in Adams for so long, you start to think, well, a mistake's not going to happen. I need to try and make it work somewhere else myself. And I'm not sure where that's going to be. I'm starting to lose a bit of faith, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Tariq Adam does seem to have things well under control. And let's not get the ticker tape out just yet. Let's not blow up those balloons just yet. It's not
Their
over yet.
sponsors will be happy. I was going to say that because I mean they've basically been on stream for a good 35-40 minutes of this race, weren't they? And I think that's it. They've done the work of the sponsors.
Yeah, indeed. Tariq Adam also Soverlinen runs wide that time. Soverlinen runs wide that time, and that could mean the respite that Tariq Adam needed in order to make sure that he doesn't get caught with his pants down with just 1 lap to go.
Yeah, obviously the next time they come through here will be to take the checkered flag. So if he's going to make a move, it needs to be somewhere else, and the gap's too big, I think. I think Tariq Adams, I have to shout out to him. He's had a fantastic race, hasn't he? These guys have been fighting from the start. He had a look at Harry Spears. Such a good start when they went green was Adam. Had a look around the outside of turn 1, went wide, and then found himself in a battle with Soverlinen for basically 60 minutes. And if he does manage to complete this race in second place, it'll be very well fought. and very well deserved.
Well, Silverliner now suddenly finding a little bit of extra pace and suddenly getting much, much closer. This is the final lap, ladies and gentlemen. Harry Spears making his way towards the finish line. These two battling it out for that finish. And by these two, I mean Adam and Silverliner, as we cut to the leader. Harry Spears about to get towards the checkered flag. So far, nothing has changed. And Silverliner still chasing down Adam, and Spears still leading us off.
I think we're going to hear at the end from Harry Spears when we have an interview with him that he was fighting grip the entire time and it was incredibly difficult and blah, 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 the usual driver's chat. But in reality, he has been superb and he's done everything. It's looked easy, even though I'm sure he'll tell us it wasn't in any way.
Well, that's the thing, though. The greats make it look easy, don't they? And that's exactly what makes them great. So where the rest struggle, the winners make it look easy. And in this case, that winner seems to be Harry Spears, at least at this stage, with Silverliner and Adam fighting for second position over here. Silverliner not giving up, not right up until the end. This is the final sector now. He's 0.2 of a second up on his best time. Is Harry Spears, or Silverliner, I apologize, as Spears should be making his way towards the finish line now.
It's last chance saloon for Silverliner, and there's nowhere else he can make a pass. I can't see it, so I think that might be it.
That's it. That's it. Let's see. Tariq Adam comes out smoothly. Yes, he does. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got your winner over here. Harry Spears is your winner of this round. He runs to the wall, waves to the crowd and the team on the side. Tariq Adam gets second position as the fireworks decorate the sky. Silverliner gets third and Morgan Mccaul in a very respectable fourth place. Ietzi in fifth. Zaire Essa, his worst result so far this season, but he mentioned himself, he's on vacation, didn't have time to practice and probably on another rig. So a respectable result for him as well in sixth place. And Philip Minna in seventh. What an exciting race so far, folks, but we'll be right back after this with the results and, of course, a chat to some of these drivers.
Welcome to Africa's first ROG arena. Woo! Well, folks, that's what the podium looks like. Jonas Silverliner in third place. And if you look at the background screen there, Dan, that looks like a very dry Suzuka, but
yeah,
that's not what
that's the Suzuka that they wish they had, wasn't it, really?
That is not what Tariq Adam and Jonas Silverliner had to deal with
for all of those laps and for that entire 50 minutes, really. In first place, of course, there's only one man, and that's Harry Spears. And Harry Spears will now be looking to close that championship gap. We wait for those points, which will be coming up later on, and then we will know for sure exactly what has happened here today, because there's a bigger picture at play here, Dan.
There is. And I mean, it's good points in the bag for Harry Spears, but he's got to do it again at Bathurst to really push Essa in the championship. And that's where it's the one circuit you don't really want to be relying on that, unless he can pull off another masterclass and lead from the front as he did here in superb fashion. Tariq Adams also had a good fight at the start, and then ended up defending to Sovalainen for a good 60 minutes. I think I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Tariq Adams and how he coped with that pressure. It looked easy on circuit, but I can guarantee you it wasn't.
Well, the person that applied that pressure was Jonas Sovalainen, and he's in third place. He's going to join us now. Jonas Sovalainen, congratulations on your third place. We were watching the race. It looked tricky out there. You guys made it look easy, but I don't think it was. But we wanted to hear from you yourselves. How were the conditions out there, Yuna?
It was pretty hard. Hard to overtake, and the visibility was pretty bad.
Wow. And what was it like being behind Tariq Adam all the time? Were you trying to set up a move? Were you just going to hang back? What was the plan for you in third position?
It was almost impossible to overtake without him making huge mistake.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, it was clean driving from both of you, though. I mean, from the start, it just so evenly matched. But to be able to drive that closely behind someone for effectively the entire race was very well done. So I think you earned your third position there, Sovalainen. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, there you go, folks. That is your third place man, Jonas Sovalainen. Add some points to the tally. And congratulations to you, Yuna. We'll see you at the next round. In second place was Tariq Adam. Tariq Adam, the South African, in the commentary booth with us. Tariq, your coming out moment, you absorbed the pressure and made it to the finish line. After all of that, was the pressure cooker as hot as it looked?
Yeah, it was a super stressful race. Very tricky conditions. It's probably the wettest wettest server I've driven in for the practice of this race. So definitely weren't prepared for that.
We saw you had a good look up you had a great start and almost a potential to sort of challenge Spears into turn one. Went a little bit wide, and I thought the battle was going to carry on, but it turned out just holding that second place was a hell of a lot of work, Tariq. So were you glad to finally get across the line and cement that second place?
Yeah, it was really scary because my pressures were about a full PSI lower than ideal. So that's why at the start I just aquaplaned, went straight up into T1. And then it happened a few times after that as well, so I had to take it really easy.
Well, it didn't look like you were taking it easy out there. It looked like you guys were on it. You did make it look easy from the outside, though. But as soon as we went on board, we noticed that you guys were working those steering wheels. Anything that we missed? Were you guys trying to save fuel? What was the strategy going into this?
There was nothing about fuel. You could do whatever you wanted with that. So I was running map 1 the whole time, so most power, and I think Spears was on map 2, so I don't know, maybe he had a different strategy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just going with the full tank and going for it. Yeah, and it was just about the tire pressures, trying to get them up, trying to work them a bit harder.
Is that why the car got faster through the course of the race?
No, it got faster due to less water, less rain on the track, and less fuel in the car. So as the fuel drops, you go faster as well.
Okay, awesome. That we were wondering about that because from what we were seeing, the circuit looked as wet as it was. But a fantastic performance from you, man, to absorb all that pressure, Tariq. Congratulations, man. You did it, man. Congratulations on that one.
Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. There you go, folks. Tariq Adam in second place. But the man of the moment is Harry Spears. And Harry Spears gets the win. And this is making your championship look very good at the moment, Harry.
Yeah, I came into this round knowing that this, besides the final round, is probably going to be the most important one. Because obviously last week when Zahir said that he was going to come back from a holiday the morning of the race, I was just like, right, I have to make this one count then. So I've been doing so much practice this week, and yeah, thankfully it all paid off. It was yeah, probably one of my best drives to date. So yeah, very...
I was going to say it's almost to be expected to have a British guy win in those conditions, isn't it? Because you've had a bit more practice. But I mean, as it stands right now, then you could do with a bit of that rain in the UK. So very well done. It was a bit of a masterclass. A pole position important for you?
Oh yeah, literally qualifying, probably the most stressful qualifying session of my life. Like just like going out on a dry track doing no dry practice, just an absolute battle royale to see who could get the best lap in before it starts raining a bit more. So when I saw Tariq and Savalainen qualifying about just a few hundredths behind me, I was just like, oh my god, just biting my nails the whole time. But yeah, thankfully it came through, and in those conditions, qualifying is just so important because midnight, like really wet race, it's almost impossible to overtake. So yeah, I couldn't believe my luck when I got pole.
And we go into the final round, that is Mount Panorama Bathurst. That's a nice, easy one to finish, don't you think?
Oh, I wish.
Yeah, that's going to be a tricky one, and I think people, don't want their drop rounds. A lot of people are trying to think that might be their drop round. But if you can do a similar qualifying that you did now, lead from the front, is that one you feel confident in?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, my friends will tell you I've got quite a rough past with the barriers at Bathurst.
I think we all have.
But yeah, hopefully, and as you say, it's quite a tough track for overtaking, so I think qualifiers will be quite important next week.
Well, a fantastic performance from you, Harry Spears. You made it look easy, although we all know that it wasn't. And now we go into the finals with what is going to be an epic standoff between you and your championship rivals. Congratulations on this performance. And let's see who repeats this fantastic performance or their performances at the final round. We'll see you at the final round, Harry. Good luck for that one.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, Harry Spears over there in first place, once again on the podium. And we're now looking at the race standings. As we said, Harry Spears scores himself 105 points thanks to that pole position. And that gives him over Zaire Essa a solid 21-point jump. Dan, this is big.
Yeah, it's very big, very, very big. It's exactly what he needed. I think he said it himself. This was a vital race for Harry to make sure he was in a race for the win of this championship, and that only a win would do, and almost really an only a win does for the final round as well. So it's going to be really entertaining going into Bathurst, how close that'll be. Also the fight between the Saffers, who can get that top 3 spot. Essa's probably in there already, but Adams, Mccaul now put his name in the hat. So quite a few guys fighting to get into that top 3. But job done for Harry Spears. Now let's move on to the final.
Yeah, indeed, the final of the ATK Pro Series looms, folks. And we will be heading to Bathurst. And as you say, Dan, it's going to be an incredible finish. And there you go. We've got a new championship leader. This is without the drop rounds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So this is without the drop rounds. So these drivers still have to drop the rounds, but Harry Spears in provisional first position at this stage. Tariq Adam with a solid third place. So Tariq Adam working his way up the championship standings. And we will be bringing up the drop round version. We've got that. The guys are whipping out the calculators to try and frantically figure out who's who. There you go once again. Oh my goodness, we got a new leader. Harry Spears, your new championship leader, ladies and gentlemen. Tariq Adams still in third place by just 9 points. But Tariq Adam in third, Zaire Essa in second, and Harry Spears in first. Dan, who saw that coming?
Wow, I didn't actually see that coming. I thought Essa had a tiny margin, so now it really is. They've got to beat each other in the final round, and they've got to do it up the mountain. That's going to be epic. You don't want to miss that.
Oh.
Who's going to take the championship for the ATK Pro Series in this one-make series? It's brilliant.
It's literally more than likely going to be a race, a one-and-done championship standoff race. So
it looks like it, and that's exactly what you want for a final, isn't it? You don't, we don't want someone running away with it, and that has not been the case whatsoever this series. We've had different winners in every single race almost. It could be anybody's, and when you go into such a tricky track as Bathurst, it really could be anyone's.
Well, this is, they might as well not have driven the whole season and just gone to Bathurst and done one race. But this is where we find ourselves, even after all these rounds, this being round 5, we find ourselves in a situation where Harry Spears somehow manages to put the always dominant Zahir Essa with just 3 points going into the final round of the championship. An incredible performance. Zahir Essa in second place, Tariq Adam in third. He was in fourth going into this race, ahead of Philip Mina, who now finds himself in fourth. Simone Ietzi was in fifth, still finds himself in fifth, and Morgan Mccaul jumps up one position to sixth place. Jonas Overliner, the big winner, jumps up 2. Well, folks, that is it from us here at the ATK Pro Series, powered by Mercedes-Benz. My name is Ernest Page, joined by Dan and the rest of the team working the systems in the background. Special thanks to those guys behind the scenes to make all of this possible. We'll see you guys at Bathurst, which is going to be an absolute cracker of a race. Dan, what are your predictions going into Bathurst?
I'm not going to do it. I can't. Okay, Harry Spears. He's the POM. I've got to go for the Brit. Now I'll get my coat.
Yeah, we're waiting for those dates. Provisionally, we're looking at the 18th of September for Mount Panorama. But stay tuned to our social, folks, and have a look to see what's happening there. As mentioned, this is the ATK Pro Series powered by Mercedes-Benz, and we'll see you guys at Bathurst.